everybody. Hello and welcome to Promise2Live today. I'm Brandy Vega. Thank you so much for coming. How you feeling? Good. Decent food, decent group, right? It's Mental Health Month, and I appreciate you guys being here. You know, we put these on every single month, and we have Jennifer, come on up here in the center. We do these every month, and we've done them for nearly 2 years. Every month we have different speakers and different subjects that pertain to whatever it is we're going through or the subject of the month. This month is Suicide Prevention Month. So we want to talk about suicide prevention and mental health. It's been a heavy week. We've all felt that, right? It's still quiet. All right. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. All right, everybody. Check, check, check. La, 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 la. No? I was a reporter, not a singer. So keep that in mind. Still? Okay, there we go. Now you guys can hear me, right? That's good. Turn up your miracle ear. Thank you guys for coming. It's always an honor. Like I love these groups because one, I get to see all my friends and I get to meet new friends. Who's here for the first time? I love that. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming. Every third Thursday we do these from noon. We get here, we meet, we eat, we connect, and then from 12:30 to 1:30 we have our speakers, and we typically have 3 to 5 speakers. Dr. Morgan will be coming up to speak. We have Jennifer Kunzler, and we have Brooklyn Anderson. You're going to hear from each of them today. I will eat this microphone. I just ate. But I want to tell you a little bit about Promise2Live before we kind of get going. Promise2Live, I founded this 4 years ago. And what we're doing that I think is so impactful is we focus on the power of a promise. And I'm just wondering, when you make a promise and keep a promise, why do you do so? What are some of the reasons or some of the feelings that you get? Shout it out. Love. Integrity. Trust. Yeah. Anyone else over here? Commitment, loyalty, responsibility. It comes down to a little bit of our self-worth, right? Our word means everything. Our word represents the fabric of who we are, how we live, what we do. So, you know, I've been researching this a lot, thinking about the power of a promise, because this started 4 years ago when I was in the hospital begging. I just tripped myself. I am totally hooked. Hold on. Hold, please. I'm Houdini. I just was able to connect myself. How in the world did I just... There we go. For my next trick. So I was in the hospital 4 years ago. We didn't know if my daughter was going to make it. And I was begging Heavenly Father for a miracle. And I made a promise, and I just said, God, if you save her, I'll do anything you want me to do. And I heard, anything? And I said, anything. Anything? Yes, I promise. And within about an hour, she was coherent and she was functional. And he kept his end of the deal, and I've spent the last 4 years keeping mine. And I didn't know what that promise meant, but I knew that he kept his end, and I was bound and determined to keep mine. So I came back and I started working in this, and I've really just been thinking, I had asked my daughter, will you make me a promise that you'll reach out? If you ever feel like you're in this space again, do you promise me you'll talk to me or your dad or your friends or 988 or Safe UT? And she promised, not because she wanted to live, but she promised because I asked her. She promised for me. She promised for her little 4-year-old brother at the time that she loved dearly. She didn't want to be here for quite a few years. And it was about 6-8 months ago. Some of you have heard this story. We had a hard conversation. She turned 18. She graduated a year early. She's doing fantastic, by the way, which I'm so thankful for. She, graduated a year early on the honor roll. She builds professional mascots like Dallas Mavericks, Kansas City Chiefs. She's an incredible artist running a shop at 18. And we had a hard conversation about politics and economy and taxes and all the things that make us sad and depressed. And she looked at me at the end of this and she stared at me for a minute. And she goes, Mom, I can't wait to get old like you. And I cried, not only because I knew I was old, and she called me on it, but you guys, it was the first time in 5 years that she said she wanted to live and that she saw a future. And I think that this is part of the power of a promise. You know, as we look at that, it represents who we are. We make promises when we get married. We make promises in some of our church things. We make promises to the people that we love the most. So the power of Promise to Live is this. Make the promise to reach out for help. If everybody does this in a safe state of mind, there are studies out there that show people who make a promise are up to 60% more likely to keep it. Why? Because when we don't love ourselves enough, we want to honor our integrity. We want to honor our word. We love other people. We want to fulfill that. Promise to Live is built on 3 pillars. Getting everybody everywhere right now. And I'm going to ask each of you. Some of you have made it, we'll make it again. But I'm going to ask every single person in this room right now to make me a promise that you will reach out for help if you find yourself in that dark place and you don't want to go on. Friend, family, resource 988. Can you guys look at me and say, I promise? I missed you guys. Try it again. Promise. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Once you guys commit, which is make the promise, then our job is the next thing I couldn't find when I was in the hospital. I looked everywhere. Where do I go? Who do I trust? Where are the resources? How do we navigate this? I couldn't find it. Go here, go there, some acronym I didn't know or remember. And it was really hard for me. So we connect people to tools and resources in one place. So if you go to Promise to Live, once you make the promise, we connect you to vetted resources in one place. And hopefully you can find that before you need it, but definitely when you're in the crisis. And then our third pillar is community. We connect. Now more than ever, we need each other. We need a community. We need to have people to talk to. We need to have people to connect with and build with and feel with. And so we do this here every single month. We do it in schools. We'll be at UVU tomorrow with our friend Lincoln here. Lincoln, wave, say hi. Hi, Lincoln. Lincoln went to UVU yesterday and gave out 200 pocket hugs in less than 1 hour. And we're going to be there tomorrow, our team, between 2:30 and 7, giving out hugs, pocket hugs and real hugs, and just hope and light and encouragement. So if any of you guys are interested in joining, let us know. Also, while we're at it, we are building out our advisory team and adding a few new board members. If you guys are interested in being a part of the solution, let me know. But not if you're doing it for your resume, because we don't need that. We need people who want to get in, dive in, and save lives and make a difference and lift where you are, because this is something that affects us all. So our community, who was in Hollywood with me last week? How much fun was it? Yeah, and apparently 7 million other people thought so too. I'm pretty excited about that, you guys. We put on a big show in Hollywood. Why? Not because I'm in love with celebrities or even like dealing with their managers, because I don't. But what I do love is that they have people who trust them and love them. They have big numbers. And Promise to Live, we're about thinking outside the box. You know, when I started this, there's a lot of business leaders here and experts. Like, this isn't a problem that government is going to solve. This is a problem that we're going to solve together. And I looked at this, and I've been doing media and marketing. I own a video production company. I served in the Army as a broadcast journalist, public affairs specialist, worked in TV news for years. I own a video production company. When all this happened, I shared my story on KSL. They saw my personal video in the car begging for help, the one that got 12,000 views overnight. KSL asked me if I would share my story on the news. I was appalled. I was disgusted. I was actually really mad that they would ask me to do that when my child's in the hospital and we don't know her future. So I told him no. But then you remember that promise I made? And he said, anything? And I said, anything. He tried me on it 2 weeks later because NBC called me back and said, will you share? And I did not want to do it. But I reluctantly did it because of trust and integrity, and I made a deal. I keep my word. It's what I do. So I did the story on KSL. That story saved 2 people's lives that reached out. And we saw the power of media. We saw the power of saying, hey, I'm not an expert, but I'm a mom. And I'm inviting you, and I invite everybody in this room as well. When you get to where you're going, or even before you get there, check on the people you love, your friends, your family, your coworkers, and ask them point blank, are you feeling suicidal? Honest questions, honest answers, you don't plant that. So that's what I said on the news, and Dad said, you just saved my daughter's life. He went to go check on her. She'd written her note. She was in the process of trying to end her life. Another family reached out and said, you saved our 15-year-old. We're getting him help. That's where this was born. Because I knew in my mind, like, why would God give us this challenge if I wasn't supposed to do something big with it? And so we decided, if what we're doing, it's great, but there's different means to reach people. So what if we could reach them where they are, on the devices and the platforms that they use, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, through the people they already know, trust, and follow, influencers, celebrities, business owners. And so that's what we did. In our first year, we put our message out. We did a show. We reached 160,000 people from Vega Media, my studio. The next year, 400,000. Last year, we did it in Hollywood, 3 million. This year in Hollywood, 7 million. Making a promise to reach out for help, it might feel uncomfortable. It might feel uncomfortable to you and them, but let me just tell you one thing before I turn it over to our speakers, is when you have the courage and the confidence to talk to the people you love, or even strangers. I did this in the drive-thru at Arby's yesterday. The manager was so nice. He's like, welcome to Arby's. What can I get you? And I'm like, wow, you are pleasant. You're so nice. You know, most people are kind of just not that happy. And I went up and I just said, can I give you a hug? He's like, what? I said, I want to give you a hug. I handed him one of the pocket hugs. I said, I just need you to know that you're awesome. You're amazing. The world's better with you in it. Thank you for being just such a joy and a light today. I hope you know how valuable you are. And do you know what this 40-year-old Arby's general manager did? He teared up. He got tears in his eyes and he said, you don't know what this means. Thank you for giving this to me today. I said, will you keep that in your pocket every day and know that I love you, that you are loved, that no matter what it is you're going through or dealing with, we need you, and you got this, and you just made me a promise. I said, will you promise if you find yourself struggling? I make everybody make the promise when I give them the coin. Will you promise me you'll reach out? And it took him a minute, and he blinked through some tears, and he said, okay, I promise. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that did. I don't know if he was in the middle of something, but chances are pretty good he is, because we all are. And then I said, how many people do you have working here? And I gave him the other stack. It takes 30 seconds to make a promise, something that could save lives, your life, their life, and it's an action item. We move the conversation from awareness to action. But what I'm saying about you asking them when you might feel uncomfortable, do you know what that does to the other person? It validates them to let them know that they're seen and that you actually care enough to want them to stay. That's an honor, you guys. That's a joy. We should all be asking everyone that we love, hey man, will you make a promise to reach out for help? For you, for them. That's what Promise2Live is. Commit, connect, community. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you being involved today. We've got great resources and stories that we're going to hear. Dr. Morgan's going to come up and talk about from the clinical side. And by the way, he's here in the back, so if any of you are struggling or going through something, and once he's done talking, you can meet him in back, and he's willing to talk to you. And then we have Jennifer Kunzler, who is going to speak from a mother with lived experience. How many in this room have struggled with either mental health directly or with someone they love? It's pretty much everyone. most of us are dealing with something. She's going to share her experience, and then we have Brooklyn, who's with NAMI, who's going to talk about some resources and tools that they have. So let's welcome Dr. Morgan up.
Thank you. Thank you, Brandy. So I'm Dr. David Morgan. I'm the Director of Mental Health Awareness here at Silicon Slopes. I've been a licensed psychologist for more than 20 years, and then recently have transitioned into business consulting. I'm taking the experience I've got in dealing with over 15,000 clients and teaching businesses how to understand mental health in their employees, especially in how to avoid ADA entanglements. But we're going to talk today about recognizing signs and symptoms of suicide and how to respond appropriately. So Brandy asked me to talk about. One of the questions I get when we discuss this is, well, how do I empathize with this if I've never had any feelings like that? If I've never been suicidal or never been hopeless, then how do I empathize with people? As I was considering that, I thought of a presentation I did some years ago. I was at a conference that specialized for people who had been divorced. And it was just kind of a boutique conference. There were maybe 30 people in my particular breakout session. And one of them raised his hand before the thing, and he said, "Have you ever been divorced?" And I said, "No. I've been married for 34 years. And he says, "Well, then how can you understand us?" Right? And I thought about it for a minute. I didn't have time to get into a conversation with him from the stand. But I thought about that since then. I thought, well, could I understand that? Having never gone through it, could I understand some of the feelings that might be associated with that? And I think the answer is yes. And so I got an example here, like similar situations, but not identical. So let's say you have a person gets cut out of a business deal by a trusted partner after being lied to. And then you have someone who is cheated on by their partner and the relationship ends. Okay? Two very, very different situations, but a very similar emotional experience, right? They both feel betrayed by that. And so I think those two could probably understand each other, even though one's never had a business deal go south and one's never been cheated on. But they could probably say, I know what it's like to be betrayed, and so I know what it's like. So in part, I know some of the feelings you're experiencing. Maybe not exactly what you're going through, but I know some of the feelings that you might be experiencing. When you talk with people who are experiencing suicidal thoughts or ideation or have plans or things like that, one of the things that's really important is you never want to make it about yourself, but if you're in tune with your own prior experiences, it can help you empathize a little bit about that. So you never want to say, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're going through, because you don't. And that's almost untrue in every situation, for us to say, I know exactly what you're going through. Because even if you went through a very, very similar situation, even an exact same situation, your experience is likely to have been different, right? Even subtly different. And so we should probably just get rid of that saying, I know exactly what you're going through. We can say, I've experienced difficulty myself, but again, in this situation, you wouldn't even want to say that. You would just say, tell me about what you're feeling. Well, I just feel horrible. I feel sad. We're going to talk about some of the emotions. And that helps you kind of empathize with them and kind of see their circumstance. So I want to talk about three separate things here. First, some signs and symptoms, and let's talk about the emotional things that one might experience who is feeling suicidal. Depression's an obvious one. It's one of the, it's not a necessary condition to be diagnosed with major depressive disorder, but it's one of the 9 that you could use to be diagnosed with that. Anxiety is sometimes a symptom of people who are suicidal as well. There's a loss of interest in things. They just don't feel like doing anything. There's no motivation. There's no drive. Irritability is one of those. It's also a potential symptom of depression. Irritability and aggression as well. Anger. And this is one that some people don't realize, sudden improvement. When an individual has, if they've got to the point where they are really thinking that it's time to end their life, there's almost a sense of relief that comes from that. Because they go, okay, I've got a plan forward. I know this pain is going to end. And so that's something, if you see someone who's kind of on this downward trend and all of a sudden it looks like they're going up, that could be a warning sign. And so it's time to talk. Well, it's always time to talk. There's always time to keep that dialogue open, but that's something to be especially concerned about. Let's look at some of the behavioral signs and symptoms associated with suicidal thinking. An increase in substance use, which could be an increase from existing substance use or a start or a beginning to that. Someone who's never used substances before and all of a sudden they start drinking or they start using controlled substances. Withdrawal, they don't come around much anymore. They don't respond to your overtures, your invitations. Sleeping changes could be either sleeping too much or sleeping too little. Sometimes it's both. I talk with people all the time in the evaluations that I do, and they talk about their sleeping patterns, and sometimes they'll say, sometimes I sleep too much, sometimes I sleep too little. Sometimes they'll give away things, even things that are important to them. Sometimes, and I don't know, you might know this, like if you had access to their search histories or that, if you find them researching methods to harm themselves, something to be very concerned about. And if they start, making final statements like saying goodbye and those sorts of things, things to absolutely be concerned about. We'll talk about what to do. Don't worry, I'm not just going to tell you all the things to be worried about. I'll tell you some things you can do as well. And then conversation topics. I didn't know how to title this. Basically, this is things they might say to you. So if they express feelings of hopelessness, just that they have no future, they don't think they're going anywhere. They say they have no reason to live. Sometimes they'll express being a burden to others. Like, I don't feel like I have a place. I feel like I'm just a waste in society. I feel like everyone's doing everything for me. I'm not doing anything for them. People, if they express feelings of being trapped or unbearable pain or just talking about ending their life, sometimes they'll do that, which is obviously a clear signal. Okay, here's what you do right away. If you suspect it in someone, some things to do right away. Listen without judgment, okay? None of this, I know what you're going through. Please, I don't know exactly what you're going through. No one ever knows that. But just listen. Let them talk. Let them express what's going on. And that can be difficult, especially your first reaction is going to be like, no, don't do that. Don't talk about that. A couple months ago, we talked about how when we're dealing with people in distress, it has to be more about them than it is about us. And if it's your burden to bear, for some of us it is. Some of us, our job is caregivers. And that means that it can't be about us. We're the ones that have to bear the burdens at times. And sometimes we're in the shoes on the other foot, and we're the ones where our burdens are being borne. Always ask directly. Don't beat around the bush. Straight talk is the best talk when it comes to suicide prevention. Are you thinking about suicide? Are you thinking about harming yourself? And then if you think that danger is imminent, don't leave them alone. Okay, now I'm talking about like absolute emergent situations here. If you think that the next thing they're going to do if they leave your sight is going to do something to hurt themselves, then stay with them or make arrangements for someone to stay with them. That's what to do right away. What to do sooner than later. And this is such a great resource. Oops. There we go. 988. It's like 911, right? You can call, you can text. It's available 24/7. And it's not just, it's for you if you are having these feelings, or if you're supporting someone that's having those feelings, it's for you too. You can call them and say, hey, my best friend is thinking about ending her life. What can I do? And they will help you with that. These are trained individuals who know what they're doing. It's such a great resource, so utilize it. I'm sure Brooklyn will talk more about that later. Encourage them to write a safety plan. And this could be something as simple as, if I'm feeling suicidal, I will call this person or text this person or something like that. Writing it down makes it a little more official because there's one more level to it than just talking about it. And get them connected with professional help. If they have a job, they can go through their EAP program if they have that, or a counselor. 988 can help with that as well. They can help you get to those situations. You probably want to help them through that as well, because trying to get into a provider is so tricky anymore. That's one of the problems we have with our insurance, is that it's tough to navigate that system, so they might need some help. So don't just say, get back to me next week about how it went with your counselor. Follow up, help them. Okay, and a few things not to do. Do not minimize their pain. Do not make it about yourself. And do not promise to keep their disclosure a secret. Don't say, okay, this is just between you and me. Say, no. And they may not like you for it, but you're literally trying to save their life. And you say, I'm going to talk to as many people as I need to get you the help that you need. And that's and you can do that because that's even professionals. We can do that too if there's immediate situations. Confidentiality doesn't necessarily apply, and so we can talk to as many people as we need to make that happen. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for the support you give to others. It's as we work together, we make things better. Oh, and one more thing. This is what we do. There's a great anecdote about going upstream. People that keep fishing people out of the river, right? And these people see all these people coming down the river, like, what's going on? And they're pulling them out of the river one by one. And there's this team of helpers on the side. And then finally, one woman, she takes off running. Like, where are you going? She says, I'm going upstream to find where they're falling in, right? What's going on? And so there's things that we can do beforehand as well. So the first one, encourage open conversations about mental health. Let's reduce mental health stigma in every setting: work, home, school. It's okay to have mental health. We're not ashamed when we get a cold, right? We don't have to be ashamed when we feel depressed or feel anxious. There's no shame about it. And then be consistently compassionate and supportive. That person that you know that isn't having suicidal thoughts, if you're their friend, if they know they can talk to you, that you're there for them, you're the first person they're going to go to when they need help, because you've established that relationship with them over time. So build those relationships. Okay, now I'm done. This is our podcast we do here at Silicon Slopes. One of them, Mental Health Momentum, that I host. It's a great opportunity. We talk about mental health in business and beyond. If you have any questions for me, that's how you can reach me at drmorganconsulting.com. I'll also be around here afterwards if you have any questions. Again, thank you for your interest in this, for your commitment to it. Together is how we make all this get better. So thanks again for coming.
Thank you, Dr. Morgan. We appreciate that. Love that so much. All right, so next we have Jennifer Kunzler, and she's a mom with lived experience, and she will be sharing her story. Welcome her, please.
Oh, thank you. My name is Jen. I have 11 siblings. One of them, I grew up in a rural community. There wasn't cable. 6 years ago? 6 years ago, my brother committed suicide. And we saw some of the signs, and my family is the classic dysfunctional family. We don't talk about anything, let alone hard subjects. And so nothing was done. I have 5 beautiful daughters. One of them's here. Hi, cutie. And 3 of them, at one time or another, or currently, were suicidal. I'm going to talk about one of my daughters. Her first attempt was the end of 2022. And we sat in the ER, and we're like, my husband and I are like, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know what to do. What is this attention? Is this serious? We just figured it was attention. We didn't take it seriously. Her second attempt was about 2 months later. I was still in denial. She's still fine. Look at her life. She's got everything going for her. And my husband, thank God, said, "Hun, we've got to get her some help, and we've got to get her some drastic help." So she went to Wilderness in January of 2023. Do you remember the winter of 23 and the record snow? Yeah, she was in Wilderness in a lean-to, tarp, teepee, sleeping bag situation. Yeah. We had little contact for 3 months, and I thought, okay, she's cured. She's fixed. She's going to come back home. We're going to be fine. And we got talking with her counselors. We realized there was a lot more under that iceberg that we did not know about. So very quickly, within about a week or 10 days, we got her into residential treatment. And she stayed there for the rest of 23. So she was outside our home in someone else's care from January 8th to December 15th. And that is one of the hardest things a mom can do, to send your baby girl, because I don't have the skills. I don't know how to help you. I know if you stay in my home, you will succeed and you will die. So I have to turn you over to professionals. I hope nobody ever has to do that. But if you do, I know what that could feel like. See, I didn't say those words. I know what that could feel like. We tried to get some help. We tried to get some help from friends and neighbors. Gosh, where we live in Provo, Utah, there's still a lot of stigma about mental health, and people don't know what to do with that. So they either played ostrich and put their head in the sand and completely ignored us, or they spread rumors about her being pregnant, or they told us all the things we were doing wrong as parents, which were probably true, but not helpful in that moment. One of the things that helped us the most, while we were sitting in the ER the second time, a friend reached out and said, you know, you've got to take this seriously. So that's why the decision was made for Wilderness and RTC. And through those therapists and counselors that we met with, we got some of the tools and some of the courage to have the hard conversations with our daughters, all of them. Yeah, all 5 of them. And it was really scary. I'd much rather talk about the birds and the bees. Any day I would love to talk about this. These are hard topics. Are you constricting your calories on purpose? Are you cutting yourself? Do you have thoughts of suicide? Those are hard things to talk about to these 5 beautiful girls. But we had to. We had to know where they were at, because if they were cutting or having an eating disorder, we needed to get them the help that they needed at that moment. We couldn't wait any longer. I asked my youngest, she was not very old, was she 12? I think she was 12. What she wished she would have known before all this went down with her sister. And she thought I was weird. It took me 15 minutes to get her calmed down enough to get an answer. Typical 15-year-old. She said, "Mom, I didn't even know what suicide meant. So when you talked about my sister being suicidal and having to go to Wilderness, I didn't know what you were talking about." And so those gaps in her information and her knowledge, that was filled with imagination. And I don't know how many 12-year-olds you know that don't have an imagination. That was really hard for her. And it was really hard for me to hear, because I thought I was doing a good job communicating with her. So speak to your children, to your nieces and nephews, I would say before they go to junior high. Tell them what disordered eating is and possibly why people do it. Talk to them about cutting and about how sometimes it's about too much pain, or they've literally disassociated so much they don't feel their body, and that's the only way they can feel that they're in their body. Talk to them about suicide, what that means, and talk to them about the difference between not wanting to live, suicide ideation, and actually having a plan for suicide, because those 3 are wildly different and need different responses. This I just got from my sweet neighbor about 2 days ago. The rabbit listened. I'm sorry, if you've read this book, you know why I'm crying. It basically takes Dr. Morgan's words and puts it into a story for children. So if you have someone that's struggling, if you know someone who's struggling, if you could read this, it would give you a better idea of how to help, because the rabbit just sat until the little boy got his tower knocked over and was very sad. And the rabbit sat by the little boy until he felt safe enough to talk. And then all the things were able to be fixed after the experience was validated and the little boy felt safe enough to share his story. I had a very, very clever closing, but I have no idea where I'm in my talk. Along with that, with the book on how to help, you don't have to have the perfect words, just the courage to stay. I was afraid of saying the wrong thing to my daughter. I was afraid I would set her off, and that's what would cause her to go out and commit suicide. But I realized she just needed me. She just needed me to sit by her. Sometimes I said, I don't know what to say, but I'm here, and that was enough. And showing up even in silence and even in fear, because it's really scary, is a powerful act of love. You don't need to be eloquent. You just need to be real. Compassion is best expressed through action. And when a family's in crisis, I don't know if you know any families right now who are currently in crisis, they don't know. They don't know anything. If you ask them what they need, they'll be like, I don't know, because they don't. They have no idea what they need. So telling them that you're there for them is great, but showing up and weeding their garden is even better. Telling them to reach out if they need anything is kind, but showing up with dinner or trimming their peach trees is even better. When you show up for each other in tangible ways, we're saying, I see you, I see your pain, and I'm not afraid of it. And that kind of presence doesn't just comfort, it heals. Thank you.
I love that. Now I want to read the book. So we'll all have to get a copy of that. And one thought I just had while she was talking is the acronym ASK. A lot of us are in hard situations right now. I want you to have this with you. When you don't know what to do or what to say, just remember to ask, A-S-K, acknowledge, support, keep in touch. It looks something like this. Hey, I know you were at that event last week. That must have been really hard. How are you? You're acknowledging that you know that they're going through something. The support is, I can't even imagine what you're going through. I'm really sorry you had to see or feel that. Support, a supportive statement. K, keep in touch. Can you call me tonight? Can we go for a walk tomorrow? Can we grab lunch? It's easy. If you need help, ask. If someone else needs help, ask. You don't have to be a clinician. Acknowledge, I know you lost your job. How you holding up? I know you're getting a divorce. How you doing? I know you lost your vision. Whatever it is, just acknowledging what they're going through, offering support, that must be hard. And K, can we talk tonight or tomorrow? Just keeping in touch with them, giving them something to look forward to. This is something that all of us can take and do. When you don't know what to do, ask. So thank you for that and showing up. Super important. Our next speaker is Brooklyn Anderson, and she's with NAMI and AFSP. Thank you so much for being here.
I have slides. I don't know. Perfect. I'm going to stand over here. I am not. Do I need to? Just on the stage?
Video it.
Okay.
There you go.
So I'm Brooke Anderson, and can you guys hear me? Yeah? Okay. And I work with, I have a couple of different jobs. So I'm just going to rattle them off because it kind of is a long list. So I work at NAMI, Utah. I help oversee the Utah State Suicide Prevention Grant that comes from the Department of Health and Human Services. I also am the co-chair of the state of Utah, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So I actually chair the northern part of Utah, and I've been doing that for about 5 years. And I also work with the Utah Suicide Prevention Coalition and Committee. Just FYI, if anybody wants to be a part of that committee, it is open to anybody in the community. That also falls under the Utah State Behavioral Health Commission, which was actually just brought forward from Steve Elison. So that commission does bring asks to the legislators when the legislative session comes up. So some of the asks that are coming up right now is additional funding for Live On. So I also work with Live On. Are you all familiar with Live On? Seen the billboards, whatnot? If you go to the Live On website and you type in the contact me or anything, it's actually going to come to me. So I'm the person behind the website for Live On. Oh my gosh, what else? And then the last thing is I work with the Utah Public Health Association. And the grant that we work on there is funding gun safes to the Salt Lake County Mobile Crisis Units. Is anybody in here familiar with the MCOT or Mobile Crisis Units? No. Okay, perfect. We got one. So if you call 988 and you go through the assessment process, and at that point, if 988 or the crisis worker you're speaking to feels as though a face-to-face or a more one-on-one conversation with a trained therapist is needed at that point, that mobile crisis unit can then be deployed. That is a certified therapist that will come to any location you are at. You can be in the McDonald's parking lot. You can be at your home. You can be at your best friend's house. You can be anywhere. They will come to your location, and this service is completely free. So the other options they have are they do now do telehealth. So if this individual in crisis is uncomfortable with having someone actually face-to-face, they will do a telehealth visit. And so with this grant, we actually are purchasing gun safes that are going to go into each mobile crisis unit. So when they go out on a call, if any means, which are anything that anybody can use if they have an attempt, then that can actually be locked up in the safe. So it is a 2-gun safe. The safe can clearly hold 2 guns. It can also hold medication. It can also hold sharp objects. It can also hold ropes. Anything you can put in there and put it under lock. The other amazing thing about these safes is it does come with an app. So what we really are encouraging when we drop these safes off is to have another family member actually oversee the app. So what this app is going to tell the family member is if the safe is being tampered with and or is trying to be unlocked. At that point, depending on the crisis situation, that may need a 911 call. Or a family member can jump in the car, go to their loved one, and see at that point what needs to be done. The IHC facilities in Salt Lake County actually did contact me, and they also want the safes. So starting probably next month, our crisis area, our crisis units in IHC hospitals are going to have these same safes, and they are going to have it be part of the safety plan when the individuals are released to go home. This safety plan is going to require another family member, friend, someone outside the individual in crisis to oversee the app. Then on top of that, the other part of the grant, we are going to be doing a whole mapping system of the state of Utah, and it will be safe locations for anyone to drop a firearm off. We are trying to work with some loopholes in order to get our gun communities or an individual who has a gun to feel comfortable dropping their firearm off. So law enforcement agencies, they've always been available for people to drop your firearm off. A lot of the barriers are ID, background check, running the serial number on the firearm, and that can be a big deterrent. So what we're trying to do in speaking with legislators to change some laws, but in the meantime, we are trying to go after particular FFL licenses that don't require that background information and just require somewhat of a code word to go into these retail stores. Pawn shops have FFL licenses, and hand the gun over and say, hey, can I get my gun cleaned? And then when you're done, I will come back and pick it up. The answer will be yes. They will go ahead and log the firearm in their system. That will be that. When the individual feels safe, they can come back and pick the firearm up. Caveat, has to be the same person dropping off that's picking up. If it does change people, it does change the process. There will be a background check. The firearm will be run their license number to make sure that everything is legal, and so the process will be a little bit different. So with all of that said, we are trying in the state of Utah very, very, very hard behind the scenes to get our community safe and to be able to have access to all of these things that people can reach out to for free. These safes are completely free. Nobody has to pay for them. They will just be given. And NAMI, are you familiar with NAMI and what NAMI offers? National Alliance on Mental Illness. Free peer-to-peer classes for individuals that struggle with any mental illness. They have 2 classes going on now. They have a family class, and then they have a class for the individual that struggles. They're phenomenal classes. Live On, most of you are familiar with Live On. Live On is our specific Utah state suicide prevention campaign. That is actually funded and backed by the state of Utah. Our legislative ask that's coming up this year is to help continue to fund Live On so that we can keep putting this campaign out there. There's a Live On playbook. Go to the website. You can take a very quick suicide prevention education information. Were you raising your hand? Oh, okay. And so Live On's great, self-paced, super quick, go in. Originally started on Instagram because we wanted to reach those college-age kids who have a higher risk of suicide. American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. This is where the education piece comes in. Has anyone in here taken a suicide prevention class? Yes. If you haven't, I highly, highly, highly suggest you take it. A lot of it is going to be what our doctor here already went over, those signs. What do we look for? If we see those signs, how do we have a conversation? Once the conversation's done, where do we go for resources? So if you go to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, this is a national organization. A lot of it is grant funded. They have some amazing research projects going on right now. Utah is very fortunate because our president of our board actually has a grant right now. And he is doing research on his wife's family. He's actually taking their DNA because they have a long family history of suicide. Taking his wife's DNA and going through it and looking at the DNA of other individuals. He works at the coroner's office. So he's looking at the DNA of individuals, sadly, who have passed by suicide. And then anything that he can get from individuals that come in that have suicidal ideations to see if there's something that we can pinpoint in DNA where we can have this prevention be so much earlier instead of waiting until this person is in crisis. So we're waiting to get results on that. 988, I already kind of went over that. It does have the mobile crisis unit, which is amazing. A lot of people don't know about that. But if you need someone to come to you, you can request a mobile crisis unit. Our legislative ask this year is to have an additional 2 units. It's a pretty hefty cost, so we are trying to ask and get everything we can from the state, but we are, in essence, trying to get more of those units out. And then hopefully, depending on how this Salt Lake County thing goes with these safes, if it is something that is being utilized and people are really using it, then we are going to try and push it out through all of our other counties. So that was a lot of information. This is my contact information if anybody wants to reach out. I have a whole bunch of resources. If anybody wants to take any suicide prevention classes, I can offer them for free. I have a couple of different QPR, if you've heard of it. American Foundation for Suicide Prevention has Talk Saves Lives. Again, completely free. It will give you very, very great information on what to look for than what to do with it. And yeah, I think that's probably about it. But I can definitely give you resources, point you in a direction. We have some great facilities that just opened. Huntsman Mental Health Center. It has a walk-in unit. That walk-in unit will take people for free for the first 48 hours. You do not, yeah, I'm sorry?
Over 18.
Yes, Huntsman Mental Health over 18, although IHC Primary Children's just opened up in Taylorsville. That is our children. Same thing. They have an emergency room. They have walk-in hours. They will hold people there for a brief period of time to see and let things process and see where that individual's at. We also have Vantage Point in American Fork. That is Wasatch Behavioral Health, another free space to walk into for our 18 and under. And then down in Provo, we have Wasatch Behavioral Health, which is for our adults. Again, same, walk in. You can walk in and talk to somebody for a brief period of time that is free. So thank you so much. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate you so much, and I appreciate your story. So thank you.
Thank you to our presenters. And if you guys have questions after we wrap up, feel free. We'll grab a group photo, and then you guys can come up and ask some questions. Before we wrap, I just want to thank each of you guys for being here, but I want to welcome up Katie. So pull out your tickets. If you got a raffle ticket for the blanket, this is a Juju scented blanket, and I'm going to have her just talk a little bit about it because it's not just a random blanket. It fits our mission and purpose. So welcome, Katie, and share a little bit about what that is. And if you didn't get a ticket and you want one, hurry and see Barb because we're going to draw.
Yeah, maybe we should bring him up here too because it's absolutely gorgeous. I had something that I wanted to talk about and share with everybody, but I'm like, after hearing you two, I'm like, oh, we're going to kind of, yeah, go off on it. So this is Juju, created by Julie and Paul Vassau, absolutely phenomenal people. They were here a couple weeks ago as well, so I'm sure they talked a little bit about it. But how many people have either a Minky or a Lola in their houses? Everyone, I'm sure, right? Or your wife has them as well. This kind of is the same thing, how beautiful, but there's a little bit of a twist to it. So in the corners, there's also scents. So we're working with the brain, the olfactory globe, all the different things of the brain to help people feel the connectivity that we are missing in today's world, right? So what drew me to this company is I work in child protection. So we do a lot with kids online. What's that's doing to kids? Suicidality is at an all-time high. We actually work with kids in anti-trafficking initiatives as well. But what this blanket does is how they told me about it a little bit to get me involved is what are we missing in today's world? With the devices that we have, we are missing connectivity, and that is the huge piece. And I know that there's days that I wake up, I have 2 little boys, and if it's not a good day, I'm like, what is it that's gonna turn my day upside down? Turn it, make it better. And the only thing, besides being with my kids, of course, is giving to others. And what's the first thing we do with babies when they're born? We wrap them tight up in blankets to feel the comfort of what they just left their mom, right? So this was the whole concept of this blanket too, is the gift giving to someone who might be in need, not just for them, but also for you, wrapping them up in a hug. So that is all what Juju is trying to do, is the mission of being there for everybody in their hardest times.
Thank you so much. Okay, we're going to bring that up. But before we draw, I want to bring up our friend Curtis Morley. We've partnered with Curtis, and I want him to briefly share. I want to get you guys out of here on time. I like to be punctual. But Curtis, would you please share Everyone else, get your tickets ready. But we've partnered with him on his scholarship program, and explain what that is. And this is open for anyone in here, so talk to us.
So men that show addictive behavior are 600% more likely to take their life. 600%. And so we are so happy to be partnering with Promise2Live. We are giving a full scholarship away to our 8-week pornography recovery program. And we're going to give it completely free. If you go to, we can send out a link, or don't have a QR code right here, but if you want to find me afterwards, for someone that you know that is struggling with addiction, they're probably not addicted to pornography. They're most likely addicted to shame. And that's what we help them get out of, is we go through a very structured, very different than anything that's out there program. And we are so happy to offer a full scholarship through Promise2Live.
We appreciate Curtis so much. He's been a speaker. He also runs Counterfeit Emotions. And one of the things that I love about the training and information that he offers is addiction is not about the thing you're addicted to. It's about shame. And he talks about the difference between recovery and sobriety. Share that just really quick with the group, because when he said this, I actually sent 2 of the people I love the most to his course, not because they struggled with pornography, but because, we all have to learn how to deal with things and release it. And it was one of the best things ever. One of these people was one of my dearest friends ever, like a brother to me, and this changed his life. It literally changed his life. Share briefly the difference between recovery and sobriety.
Yeah, so sobriety is actually the counterfeit of recovery. And based on Anna Lemke's work, the dopamine dependence cycle only lasts between 2 and 4 weeks. But yet everybody thinks, no, you have to be sober, sober, sober. And sobriety has one metric, and that's the stopwatch. How long can you go? And there's zero scientific correlation between how long and how deep. Sobriety has zero correlation to how much recovery you have. And recovery is all about what's inside. Recovery is about the emotions, about digging out of the demons of our soul and actually taking them to lunch. That's what we call it. We call it taking our demons to lunch and understanding the emotions that are going on, so that when those things come up again, we don't have to be triggered. It's not about willpower.
Well, and one of the other things, again, I know that today isn't about this, but I know it's valuable information. He likened it to holding a beach ball underneath the water. Have you ever done that, tried to push it underneath the water? That is sobriety, right? How long can you hold the ball underwater? Oh, look, I'm 1 year sober. Recovery is about taking the ball out of the water and getting rid of that and dealing with the problem. Is that accurate?
Yeah, the farther you push it down, the more force there is to bring it back up.
So he's offering this. You guys can find information. I know we had sent it out, but do you have it on your website as well?
Yeah, if you go to counterfeitemotions.com /recovery, then you can see a link for the scholarship.
So go on there and apply for you or for somebody that you love. It's fantastic. You can do it in person or online.
Yep.
Okay, thank you so much, Curtis.
Thank you, Brandy.
All right, time for our winner. We're going to read the numbers, so have them ready. Oh, okay. 07611023. Is that you, Carol? 023? Well, congratulations. Thank you guys so much for being here. We really appreciate it. We hope that you'll get involved with Promise2Live. Go online, scan that QR code, make the promise to live. Get involved if you want to join our team, our volunteers, advisory board, partner, whatever it is. We sure appreciate that. The next one's coming up on October 16th. And this one I'm really excited about. This one hits me straight in the heart because my mom deals with this. And October's is diagnosed but not defeated. This is for the people who have chronic pain, injury, suffering, and how do they find hope? I have a dear friend whose son had a migraine for 4 years and he ended his life because he couldn't get the pain to go away. My mom has degenerative bone disease. She struggles every day to want to be here. This is for the people who have some kind of illness, diagnosis, whether it's you or someone that you love. We're going to bring in experts. We're going to have tools. I always feed you. Please come, please share, please get involved, and know that you are loved. Thank you.